Hello, everyone. It's just Tuesday again. So, of course, it is Tuesday chat time. We're doing great here, actually. I've been on schedule every week. I haven't missed one, haven't messed the time zones up, which, of course, can really mess with your head, especially being a Queenslander, where we don't change our time. So, and then we went into South Australia, which was a half-hour difference, and now we're Victoria about to head into New South Wales, and they're both an hour difference. So, but we're getting there. I'm actually heading on our way back home. We'll be home in a week, actually. It's gone very quick. I'm actually looking, I've been loving it, and we're seeing so much. It was great to catch up with the grandkids, of course. Um, but I'm actually keen to get back to my art studio, because I feel like I've been on a holiday. I've been doing the bare minimum, I suppose, which it is a bit of a holiday. But I need to get back into it and start trying to grow the business and get back into doing some larger paintings and just painting and drawing more. I'm finding I'm not really getting a lot done in that regard. Um, I've had time to do it. I feel like it's more just I keep, putting it off for the setup. So anyway, so yes, I might next Tuesday chat. I could be back home, so you'll see me back with my lovely background of all my artwork, rather than this pretty boring background of the caravan. So and we were just at Hanging Rock. I did a workshop for a friend, and she'd organized some of her friends. So it was a great workshop. You might have seen I posted up some little video of they were charcoal cats, and that I was teaching them my charcoal process, and everyone did such an amazing job. And it was just really lovely. There was only five in the group, and it was at Beck's house, and I don't know, it was just really nice. Everyone bought a plate for lunch, and we went overtime, but it was really good, and everyone did such a great job. And then I also checked out Hanging Rock, and went up there, and the view and the rock is just this amazing, spectacular. So. Yeah, so we've had a great time. We're now on our way to Wagga Wagga. So, and there's a bird park there, actually, and I'm keen to get some reference images. So I've been taking a few reference images on our travels with my good camera, but not a huge amount, actually. Um, but I'll be keen to try and get some more. Hi, Odette. Um, I'm glad you're joining me. All right. So yeah, so that is my travels so far. But our Tuesday chat today, I wanted to have a little chat. I've been trying to the last 3 weeks we've been talking a bit about aimed at beginners. And this one sort of is as well. But it doesn't probably matter how well advanced you are. It's good to know this stuff anyway. So I want to talk about the um, seven visual elements of art, or the elements of art, why they're fairly fun to learn, I suppose. Um, they're something I think, I'm not sure if we learnt them in school. You definitely would learn them in art school, but a lot of my followers didn't go to art school. We're all starting art probably, or picking it back up a bit later in life. Hi, Jane, as well. So yeah, we may not have learned about the visual elements of art. Let me know if you did learn them in school. It could have been primary school, actually. Maybe not so much high school, but I think sort of you've forgotten you've learned them anyway. Sometimes they're just like you're doing them without realizing anyway. So like I said, you may be an established artist and not even realize you're using all the seven visual elements to create your work. But I didn't really think too hard about them until I started to do a diploma, a diploma of visual arts. I've been slowly trying to do that online in my spare time, which so I've been a bit slack with it. But it wasn't until one of the whole modules in the diploma was all about the visual elements that I started to go, oh yeah, they are fairly important. And yeah, so and I think it does make it a bit easier too if you can recognize them, then sometimes I think we'll, especially when we're starting out, we create a drawing that we think, wow, I'm really happy with that. But then when we go to do another drawing, we have that fear that it's not going to be as good as the one we just did. Um, so I think if you know the elements and how you've used those to create that drawing, then it makes it not as less daunting because you know you can do it again because you just use the same principles. All right, who else is on here? Di, Elaine, Paula. Oh, you're sitting in the doctor's waiting room. You should have had your headphones with you, Paula. Yes, I did. Exactly what spare time. Actually, I got a letter from um the university running the diploma, more or less saying if I didn't get these two modules completed, they were booting me out because I was taking too long. So yeah, I had to spend 2 days just working on those. I totally forgot about it. My goal was to do it while we're traveling, and you know, totally forgot. Too many fun things to go and look at. So, all right. So yeah, so and also I think if you're just doing art maybe as a hobby, which is fine as well, a lot of us are, we don't really want to do the technical learning because it does sound a bit complicated, but it's actually quite fun. And you're, like I said, you're probably doing all these anyway. Well, Julie and May is on as well. Awesome. So yeah, because I suppose the fear if you're like as a hobby artist, learning that technical side of art um can be really boring, I suppose, and you might think it takes the fun out of it. Oh, I've got bugs flying around me again. Um, and we want art to be fun, don't we? It's like art history. I was never interested in it at school because I did art through to grade 12, and I used to think that was pretty boring. But now I wish I'd listened more because now I actually find it interesting. So, but we can all learn. We're never too old to keep learning, and especially now we have the internet. Of course, we can always get on there and Google things. Um, but yeah, so the elements, understanding the elements of art can make your art more enjoyable and easier, I suppose, and more rewarding because you know what you're doing then. Um, so whether you're just sketching for fun or painting as a hobby or just dabbling in different techniques, learning the fundamental building blocks of art, of course, will help you express yourself better without feeling overwhelmed because you know what you're doing. So you don't have to memorize any of this. It's about playing with them and just learning, understanding what you're doing. So I've got some little practical and fun sort of things to show you today that you could have a muck around with. For those in my membership, we have the whole section on the 7 visual elements with all the workbooks. So I know a lot of you guys have probably already done that, so which is great. But yeah, just understanding them is always handy, and you can always go back to them whenever you feel like it. So think of them this way: the elements of art are like the basic ingredients that make up all art, essentially. So if you, sorry, I don't know if you can see these bugs, but they're flying right in front of my face. I'm probably going cross-eyed. Anyway, so think of them as ingredients in a recipe. Like, say, if you're making a cake, you're having your flour, your eggs, your milk, etc. Whereas if you're creating a drawing or a painting, you need your line and your shape and your color and all of that stuff. So they're the ingredients that make up your painting. Okay. So like I said, even if you don't realize it, you are using them in your work. So the elements are there's line, shape, form. Shape and form sort of work together. Color, value, texture, and space. So we'll go through each one. Sorry if it's noisy. I'm sort of we're in a park, so it's noisy all around. But you guys always seem to say that you can't hear the background noise, which is good because I sure can. All right, so all right, I wanted to line essentially is our first one. So line is kind of the car just roared past. Line is the foundation of all art. Okay, so it's a continuous mark made on a surface. So line can also guide your viewer's eye through your artwork. It could be straight, curved, wavy, thick, thin, jagged, dashed, dotted, um, all of those things. And I wanted to just want to share my screen and just show this picture. It's actually not mine, but I'll just see if I can get it to come up. Just like I always say, we're all visual. So it was just an image I found on the internet. But essentially it's all done in lines. Okay, so you can tell exactly what the objects are, but it's a line drawing. So we call them line art when we're starting our paintings, don't we? So, but you can just doodle and use line as the only form, like the only element. So line doesn't have um, any shading or anything like that to it. So sketching and outlining. Let me just get rid of that. Sketching, outlining, um, lines can come in, straight lines, of course. You could have circular lines, you can have wavy lines, dotted lines. We could do cross-hatching. Some drawings are totally done with cross-hatching lines, so there is no shading, it's all cross-hatched. Pointillism is done with dots, which I suppose you could call that a line. Then you've got, of course, light to thick. So, thin to thick, I mean. Okay, if you had a different pencil or a pen, a calligraphy pen or something, you could go thin to thick quite easily. You can go light to dark, so that's just adjusting pressure. And all things like that can help your line drawing, of course. You can do a whole thing just in lines. Hold on, I've just lost where my Teresa's on as well. Hi. Sorry guys, I was trying to find I've got so many screens. I had to find my Facebook screen to be able to see the comments. Okay. So yeah, so line is kind of the foundation of all. Now I've got a tractor going past. Oh my God. Okay, so and it can imply movement as well. So with curved lines, can make it feel like it's flowing while and soft, and then you've got jagged lines, which will create tension and energy. Like I said, the cross-hatching is another one. So even expressing emotion as lines can be gentle looping lines, maybe feel more peaceful, whereas like sharp angular lines like lightning and stuff and be more aggressive. So yeah, line is number one. So line is always first in the elements because we can't start a drawing without having lines. So again, like I said, even line art, which essentially is a sketch. So that's how, we quite often start, or I know I start in a lot of my work. So that's all made up of different lines. Okay. They're not that it's because that's not a finished drawing, I'm not interested in the thin or thick or messing around with that sort of stuff with the line. But lines can be used to totally finish a drawing. But for me, I suppose I use line to start my work as the initial sketch. Okay, so that is number one. And then number two, I'm just going to move my notes and make sure as well. I'm going to hold my book up again and hopefully you can see it. So shape and form, we'll mention those two together. Okay, so shapes are 2D and flat. These are the easiest way. So shapes are 2D and flat. And of course they're created by lines, whereas forms are 3D. So forms are where we can add shading and that to start to create depth to them, but also they don't have to have shading to be a form. So okay, with the circle here, we've used the line to create a circle. Okay, so now we have a shape. And then we've used, so that's a circular line we use there. With straight lines, again, we've joined them up and we've created a square. Okay, so you can see how line is first and then we create a shape with our lines. And then to turn them into a form, so we can turn this one into a cube. Okay, so that's how we've sort of turned it into a form. And then to go even further, I've added shading down here to these ones to turn them into, like, so you can see it a lot better. So I've added value down here, which we're going to talk about as well. Okay, so all complex drawings are made up of basic shapes and forms. So we go from line to shape to form. Okay, so everything from a human face to a tree starts as simple shapes, and turning a flat circle into a shaded sphere gives it form. Okay, and well-placed shapes create a sense of balance in a piece. So actually, oh, hold on. I just wanted to, so when you're first starting to sketch, this is just, we do gesture drawing in the membership. So this is one I was messing around with. So when I first start to freehand something, I'll start with, I always look at the head shape and start with an oval shape and then maybe some triangles here for some ears, you know, the body. It's usually because I'm doing nature, usually nature's quite more organic shapes. Whereas if you're doing buildings and man-made objects, they're more squares and rectangles. But you know, you could do a cone cylinder for a neck, maybe, and then another circle as it comes, or an oval for the body. The legs maybe could start off as rectangles. So you're essentially just trying to look at what you're trying to draw and break it down into shapes. Okay, don't even think about shading to start with. You're just trying to get those shapes happening. And then you can, for like, then as you sort of, once you're happy with the shape and your sketch, then you can start looking at your shading. Okay. I forgot to mention up here. Okay, I had some exercises to go with these as well. So with the line, so I'll put all of this in a blog post so you'll be able to run through that and look at the exercises. But so with line, draw an object using only different types of lines, okay, no shading or color. And then with shape and form, draw an animal or object using only simple geometric shapes. So I know those of you in my membership in the premium tier where we do the gesture drawing, a lot of you guys have probably already had practice with this. Okay, but it is the essentials to starting to learn how to draw. Okay, so we started with our line, we created 2D shapes, And then we move on to turn those shapes into form by adding texture and shading and value. Okay. Oh, and color as well. So I might we might go, I've got color next, but we might leave color till last. So we might go with value. Okay, so value, like I said, is where I've started to add shading. Value goes from white through to black. If you've seen a value scale, there's usually about 9 stages of grey, essentially, from going between white and black. Okay, so and I mean like pure white to pure black, and then there's many shades in between. So that's how you're going to build up your shading and your depth and your realism and all of that stuff. So value refers to the lightness and darkness of a color. Okay, so whether that's grays and blacks or whether it's reds and blues or whatever. Okay, so how it's used in painting and drawing. Sorry, I keep knocking this. So making art to look realistic. So shading turns a flat shape into 3D object. Creating drama, high contrast between light and dark areas. Adds depth and mood. And guiding the viewer's eye. So bright highlights will draw attention while dark shadows can create mystery. Okay, so I've got my rooster here. So like I showed before, we started with this line art. And I just need to move this over so I can see that I'm holding it up right. And then we there we go. Just making sure I can see it. Oh, there we go. All right, so going from the lines, so the initial sketch through to the finished drawing. So like I said, we've used line to get our sketch down. Then the shapes, which like you can see in the lines, we've got circles in here. We've got a lot of organic shapes. So because it is an animal, you're not going to find really any squares or sharp edges. So all of these sort of shapes through here, the beak is broken into 2 shapes. And then we come to our drawing, which we've then added all the different values. And it's easy to see because it's black and white. This is in charcoal. Color can sometimes confuse people with values, but in the black and white, it's a bit easy to see. I'm hoping I'm in screen here. So yeah, so we've added a lot of drama, I suppose, to the eye because this is the main focal point. So we've got the darks, really darks around there. It's probably the darkest point on the whole drawing. So, and also if you have to draw the viewer's eye, a sharp contrast between dark and light, and that's usually where the viewer's eye will go first. So up, say, through the comb here is quite a gentle contrast from dark to light. So it's just soft, whereas down here is fairly high contrast between the dark and the light of his wattle, I think it's called. But I think the biggest contrast here would be right on the pupil against the light of the eye. Okay, so I've got my lightest light against my darkest dark, and that's what will draw the eye as well. And then, so as you can see, there's lots of different variations in the value here. And that then turns that into a complete painting. And then the other one went on, which just I can probably demonstrate in this as well. Let me just have a look here. Is, yeah, texture, of course. So again, in here, there's a lot of texture to make it appear more realistic. So, and we create texture by the different marks we use. So, you can, I always try, and sometimes I like to let the paper help with mark making as well, especially in pastel. Sometimes I know straight above, usually on an animal's nose, especially cats and dogs, it's really fine, tiny hair. And if you don't smother the paper too much and you let part of that texture come through, it really helps to create that look. Whereas, say, an eye, I'll show you, I'll share my screen in a sec. Whereas an eye, sometimes you want it to look smoother because it is smoother, isn't it, than say fur. And like say the beak here, I wanted it to look smoother, so I use a blender to create a smoother texture compared to say up on these feathers where or up here which was made up more of like little dots and I usually try and work. I imagine the texture that I'm working on and try and like move my hand and create marks as I'm imagining that texture would be. So yeah, so I don't know. It's just what I do. I think it's normal. Okay, so the texture, let me show my screen as well. Um, oh, wait on. First of all, the value exercise is draw a simple sphere, okay, and shade it just using one pencil from light to dark. Okay, light to dark and try and make it look round. Okay, hold on. Let me try. I've just got to find the share button. This one, share. And it was this one I wanted to share. Okay, so hopefully you can see the leopard's eye. But I thought this was a good one to see the two, like texture essentially. So the eye looks smoother and shinier because it's wet essentially against the hair strokes. Okay, so this is a good example of how you can use texture to create a a realistic painting. Okay, so all of these play to make a painting more realistic. Okay, so I suppose I'm talking I suppose I am talking in realism, but the elements of art apply to a lot of, pretty much any type of painting, but I'm referring it to what I do. Okay. So yeah, so texture value, which is like I said on the rooster, is all the different shades between white and black, and then texture adds to that. Because if you had so maybe if I drew that rooster or this leopard's eye, um, and made the eye look hairy, the eyeball look hairy, and I blended all the fur, it would look a bit strange, wouldn't it? So texture definitely plays a part there. Um, so it's how something feels, I suppose, or looks like it would feel. So that's what I was saying. Like, so you want like fur to look like it would feel soft and and you could put your fingers in it, that sort of thing. In real life, objects, of course, have different textures. So, like rough tree bark, soft fur, smooth glass. In art, texture can be real or implied. So you could, if you probably not so much with pastel and drawing, but real as texture, as in, say, if you've seen some of those oil paintings or acrylic paintings that have a lot of texture because they've used thick brush strokes or really thick paint. So um, when you're a painter like that, you can add texture to your piece by creating it through the paint. or implied, which is what I would do through drawings, and pastel colored pencil would be the same. So with watercolor, um, you have to imply that texture through the shading techniques and your pencil strokes and building it up that way. So like stippling or cross-hatching can create different textures. Contrasting textures make an artwork more dynamic. Soft, blurry textures feel dreamy, while rough, scratchy textures feel raw. Just let me stop sharing again. Okay, so there's a lot of things you can play around with texture with your art as well. So an exercise to try for this one is create a small drawing with 3 different textures: soft, rough, and smooth. Okay. And I've got a question for you now is for anyone who's been drawing for a little while, what's the most fun texture to draw? Okay, so let me know which texture you actually like to draw. All right. Let me just, I've got to find my Facebook again. Oh, the iFile didn't open. Yeah. Well, that's annoying, isn't it? Hold on. I wonder if all right. I don't know how to do it. Sorry. It's because I'm on the laptop and I don't really know this that well. Um Hold on. I'm just trying to see. Nope, that's not it. All right. Sorry guys. It was a leopard's eye. Just let me go back here. Let me try and open it like that. And then I'll try sharing my screen. Hold on. There we go. Share. Okay. Sorry, you were probably just looking at my folder with the 5 different things in it. This is the leopard's eye I was talking about. Okay, so yes, so the smoothness of the eye and the sort of glassiness, the wetness is created by reflections as well. I quite often will glaze over the eyeball with my pencil, and that kind of smooths the eyeball a little bit as well, which helps with the texture. But like I was saying, compare that to the fur. So I'm hoping you can see the leopard's eye now. It's just the thumbnail. Yeah. All right. So yeah, so hopefully you can see that leopard's eye, but that's where you can really see the difference, how texture can make things look realistic. Like I said, if I had the smooth fur and a rough, hairy looking eyeball, it'd be a bit strange. All right. Eyes are everyone's favorite, I think, Karen. You like making a smooth, shiny eye. Yeah. So so is that the type of texture you like? Some people love fur, others hate it. I enjoy I quite enjoyed I enjoyed doing a leather texture on a horse's bridle. That's cool, that's fun, and especially the buckle as well. But I also enjoy doing texture like brickwork and like rocks, shells, those sort of textures. Fur gets or hair gets a bit, I don't know, monotonous, whereas I think I enjoy um creating those rougher textures. All right, cool. So yeah, let me know what texture you actually like to create the best. Okay. Now, so what have we done so far? We've done line, shape, form, value, and texture. And then we've got two more. We've got space, which we will go to. I've got to share my screen again here. Okay, so space is one I think is probably overlooked, but it's very important. Okay, so space, I've got just a few demonstrations here. Space can help create well, space, I suppose perspective is one. So so what, it can make your art look 3D and balanced as well. So positive space is the subject of your artwork. Negative space is the empty area around the subject. Okay, so not so much in this landscape, I suppose, but let's say this chicken here, the chick. So that's the positive space, and the sky and area around it is a negative space. Okay, but space helps to create depth and perspective. So we'll go back up to this landscape. So especially with painting as well, using vanishing points to create depth, like a wood disappearing in the distance. And like this landscape here, the objects in the foreground are closer. They get smaller as they go backwards. Also, the use of color in this as well can help create depth. But we're not really talking about color right now, but space. So the feeling of space. Okay, so some things are closer, some are further away. And space is good to have, give your object space as well around it to give it kind of some breathing room, I suppose. It makes it's trying not to make it look too crowded. Okay, so like this cartoony one here is a good one to, it looks like she's forward and the trees are in the background. Okay, but you can play with that, like this chick here. So this artist, I don't have the name here, they've created a giant chick, and they've made it appear like this giant chicken, because in proportion to the man standing here, so you can see again by using space, the man is closer to us than the chick, and the chick is further away. It's behind the tractor. You can see that the placement of its legs. But he's made it really big, so you can see it's totally out of whack, but that was the desire of the artist, and he's managed to do that by having that perspective of the chickens further away but larger. Okay. And then this painting by George Seurat, it's an excellent example of this. Like, you can see how he has used different size people to give the appearance of depth. As they go further away, they're getting smaller and higher, while the foreground people are larger and lower down on the canvas. And again, the color choices as well in that. But it's a good example of yeah, just giving that perspective and distance and space. And then there's also empty space. So space as in I always say it's giving your subject room to breathe. Okay, there's nothing worse unless you're after the feeling of a crowded space. I think paintings work better when they have room around them, just they're more peaceful, I suppose. But space, yeah, space is very important. It's not one you sort of think about too much, but think of it as along with perspective. But yeah, so it does come into two forms, like I said, perspective here where you're putting things in the distance, but space around your work. And then of course, yeah, that's your negative space. So that's a good example here. So the man here is the positive space, and all the paper around is negative space. Okay, and negative space can also really help when you're trying to draw. So sometimes we rather, when you see people turn the reference image upside down, and their work, like turn it all upside down, because it stops your brain looking at it as a subject and recognizing what it is. It's easier then to look at the negative spaces around it, around the subject you're trying to draw, and then just draw those negative shapes. Because like sometimes you might go, our brain is going, I know, like you're trying to draw a horse, your brain's going, I know what a horse looks like. But especially with all different things, foreshortening, all of that going on, it's easier to just look at the shapes and that negative space and draw that instead. But yeah, just there's so many different things you can Google and look up, of course, that go into a lot more detail about each of these. Let me just go back here. Di, you actually enjoyed it all. Sometimes you need a break with Firth. Yes, definitely. Yes, Andrea, the Rust tutorial, that was fun. And Rocks, yeah, I do enjoy doing all those. And hi, Carolyn, Caroline, Carolyn. All right, so an exercise to try for space is draw a simple landscape with one large object in the foreground and one small object in the background. Okay, so, but like I said, all these exercises I'll put in the blog so you can go back through and look at them. All right. Oh, that was a good one. I had it written. Texture makes your art feel touchable. All right, we've got one more here, which is color. So color, of course, can bring emotion and depth to your art. So color is what we see when light reflects off a surface. And it has three key properties. So we have hue, which is the actual color. So red, blue, yellow, etc. The value is how light or dark a color is. So like we were talking about values before, I was showing you in grayscale. But value applies just the same to color. So it's how light or dark it is. And then saturation is how bright or dull the color appears. Okay, so let me just, I want to share my screen again. I'll try to do this one a bit better. Here we go. Colors and moods. I got this off the internet as well. Hold on, share screen, share. Okay, so colors and moods. Warm colors like red, oranges feel energetic, whereas cool colors, blues and greens, feel calming. So you can convey emotion in your paintings. So warm colors can feel happy and energetic, while cool colors can feel, more peaceful, I suppose. Depends what you want your painting to feel like, and that's very important as well. I know when I was at what art award was it? It was the one in Tassie. I can't remember the name of it now. Beautiful big paintings of Tasmanian landscape. Is it the Glover? No, it's not the Glover. One of you know because you've been there. Um, is it the Glover? No, I can't remember. There's the Tasmanian landscape one anyway. But there were the most beautiful large landscape paintings, all done in those great deep greens and that it was in a forest. And you could just sit and stand and stare at that painting for days. And it just had this beautiful, calming feeling to it. And it was through the subject, but also the use of color. It was just amazing. And when a painting makes you feel something, then everything has worked and gone together to go into that, and that's the ultimate goal, I suppose, for an artist. So creating depth, you can use darker, less saturated colors appear further away in a painting. And emphasizing a subject, so bright, vibrant colors can draw attention to a focal point. Okay, so there's all different, well, like colors are huge subject on its own, color theory. So it's definitely one of the seven visual elements of art and a very important one. But I feel like the line, the form, the the line, the shape, the form, the value, the texture, and the space is all stuff that needs to be learnt to be able to draw. And then color is next level. Okay, and color is a huge subject all on its own. So yeah, so it's definitely something to learn. So this is colors and moods that I've got on the screen about red is passion, orange welcoming, yellow happiness, green harmony, blue peace, purple romance, like luxury, etc., etc. So you can yeah, play with that. That's a good thing to actually. I just need to share one more screen here. It's probably a good thing to print something like that out to help you with your work as well if you are trying to convey a feeling. And then of course color. Another way to use color is like I said, there's a million ways to use color, but monochromatic work as well is a fun one to do. And this is sort of something as an exercise you could do as well, is do a painting just in one color. So you can see the color on this cow is yellow, but the value range, so the hue is yellow, the value is how light or dark the color is. So using really dark yellows like under the eye and in the nostrils and that. So really dark yellow, so it's more of an ochre, I suppose. Right through to really pale lemons in the lighter areas. Okay, and yeah, and saturation is how bright or dull the color appears. Okay. So that's one way to also play around with color. All right, let me just, I gotta find comments again. Let's get rid of that. That. Oh my God, I've got so many tabs open at the moment. It's crazy. Just bear with me while I close some of these so I can find you guys. There we go. All right. The glove. Okay, thanks. I did. It was the Glover Prize. Yeah. Okay, in Tasmania. Yeah, just I could have sat and stared at those paintings for days. A couple of them anyway. They were amazing. All right, so if you could okay, well, the exercise was create an artwork using only warm or only cool colors, so or a monochromatic, like all yellows or all reds or something like that. But warm and cool is another good way, because of course you've got your warm colors, which are all your reds and oranges and that, and then you've got your cool colors, which are blues and greens. So all right. Got another question. If you could only use one color in your art for a week, what would it be? So kind of your favorite color, I suppose. Or your favorite color to use in your paintings. So, all right. Okay. So how to learn the elements of art through play. That's what I was saying. We don't have to think of it as a boring art lesson. So the best way to learn the concepts is to play with them, of course, in small, low pressure exercises. So you don't need to study theory at all. You can just experiment and see what happens. That's the best way to learn, is just play. We call it creative play. So So these are oh, Karen Crimson. Okay, cool. That's that's an unusual color to pick, but awesome. Um, okay, so these kind of a similar exercises to what I was saying. So we could do a line challenge. So draw something using only wavy, zigzag, or dotted lines. Then we could do color play. So try making an artwork using only one color. Texture, draw 5 different textures side by side: fur, metal, water, wood, and fabric. I might put these in the chat actually. Shading experiment: draw a simple ball and shade it with just one pencil using different pressures. Shape, take a familiar object like a cat and draw it using only geometric shapes. So you don't have to do all of those. You just pick one. You can do one a day, and they shouldn't take very long. I'm gonna copy those. They will, like I said, they'll be in my blog when I turn into a blog, but there you go. I've put that in the chat. Oh, have I? Right, now I have. Okay, I've put those in the chat if you want to give yourself a little challenge and something to take away from this. But also I'd encourage you, I know you guys that are in my membership, we have all of the 7 visual elements and you've probably already done them. But those that aren't, I would definitely encourage you to, for even those in my membership, Google 7 visual elements and learn more about them. And it will improve, especially if you want to improve your drawing skills, okay? But it's also a great way to give you ideas and start coming up with your own painting ideas as well. Oh, Gina, awesome. Yeah, as a beginner, Gina, the 7 visual elements are brilliant. Okay, so yeah, definitely research them some more. Like I said, colors are another whole subject on itself. If you just work on I'll write down its line, shape, form, value, texture, and space. Which I always forget space. Then color is the 7th, but like I said, color is another whole thing. But if you're just beginning, I would start with those first 6. Okay, let me see. All right, so like I said, even if you're just creating for fun, or even if you're a fully experienced artist, knowing how to use the elements of art will help your work. So it'll help it look more polished, I suppose. A little shading, contrast, or line work can make a big difference. It'll feel more balanced or engaging. So understand how to use color and shape can make your composition a lot stronger. And it'll give you more confidence because you understand what's making your art work, essentially. So if you understand how you're creating the art, then it should become easier. But of course, you don't need to master these overnight. So just start noticing them as you're using them, and even notice them in other artwork. So some of your favorite artwork from other artists or from the masters and that. When you're looking at it, maybe study them and look at the elements of art they've used is also a good way. But of course, as always, keep it fun and keep it simple and just do it for the process of drawing. So they're the elements of art are not rules, they're tools that make creating art more enjoyable and effortless. So essentially just practice, just play with it, do some little exercises, fun exercises like that. And I think it'll go a long way with improving your work. Okay. Oh, I do. You like drawing portraits with 2 colored pencils. Yeah, that's cool as well. And I've seen those and they look really great. So yeah, all right. But yeah, even study your own artwork and look at where you've used line. Like I said, with the rooster, we just did the other night. When you break it down, like we just went through the process of drawing the rooster, but when you break it down, we used our lines for our initial line art or sketch. We used a lot of values, shapes in here, turn the shape into a form, especially like you can see it in the eye. Um, this one, not so much space because it is very crowded, but it works fine as a painting. So this does, like, it is in your face. It's a rooster, and that's created by not having much space around it and having such a tight crop on it. But yeah, so it's certainly not a peaceful, it's an angry looking rooster and he's in your face. So but that's fine as well. So yeah, the rooster's so cool. It was a draw along we did last Friday night in the premium membership. So it was fun. All right, guys. Okay, we are done. I've been chatting for an hour again, but these are important, especially if you're beginning. So like I said, have fun with them. I'll get a blog post made up, but I've got those few little challenges for you there if you want to have a go just in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you next week. So thanks for joining me. And like I said, I may be home next week. You'll be able to tell by my background. So all right. Thanks a lot, everyone, and I'll catch you all later. Bye.